Welcome to your League One recap from NTT20 podcast. We're actually going to start at the bottom. Part one is going to be a relegation special. This show sponsored by Sky Bet and the Sky Bet EFL Building Foundations Fund. Wow, the top two are pulling clear. More on that later. At the bottom, it is, as it always is, one big dogfight. Doncaster Rovers 2.
Donkfight.
Blackpool 1. We'll start there. George, tell me about the game. Then we've got to talk about Blackpool.
Blackpool? I can't call them that. Although they're making a fool of their fans who are livid about how badly they're playing.
Excellent. Excellent podcasting.
Thank you. Donny win this one pretty cozily. Pretty alarmed to see for the passing stats ultras out there.
Oh yeah, stat heads.
Accurate passes in this game, 159 to Doncaster, 129 to Blackpool. That is grim.
Yeah.
Really not a good game in terms of quality. But chances created from set pieces in the first half, and when chances are created from set pieces by Doncaster, who scores them? Because Elliot Lee headed one over the bar after 50 minutes, but then when Owen Bailey is given a chance in front of goal with his head, he normally buries it.
I was going to say big Owen, but actually sort of medium-sized Owen. He plays tall.
I don't think
he plays really tall.
We have to, this season from Owen Bailey, and it's obviously coming in a season that's going to be a difficult one for his club, albeit they were promoted last season, so survival maybe wouldn't be the worst thing, albeit early season form suggested it might be better than that. Yeah. But for him to score 12 league goals now this season,
yeah, it's one of the most astounding goal scoring seasons that I think we've ever covered.
Yes,
it's also one of the most beautiful shot maps I've ever seen in my life.
It's absolutely incredible. 60 shots he's had.
Why don't more players do this? So Bailey is a midfielder. Sometimes he's a right back. Sometimes he's a centre back. Sometimes he's a midfielder. And all he's doing, as if it's easy, which it isn't, but all he's doing is when the ball is wide in any scenario,
gets in the box,
run really fast directly at the goal, and then hope that the ball finds you. And then obviously the hardest part, finish when it does. But all of his shots are within the confines of the posts.
He's taken
all
three
of them
shots.
From.
He's taken 3 shots outside the box out of 60.
Yeah, the average shot that he takes is 8 yards out.
It's like he's
central.
He's really studied XG.
It's like he's completed the game.
Yeah, but then what
at what cost?
But also looking at it, 26 of his 60 shots this season are in open play, and he scored 5. So 5 of his, and they're all they're basically all headers. Although 6 headers, 6 with his right foot, none with his left. It's unbelievable.
Amazing
what he's doing. So credit to Owen Bailey for scoring yet another goal in this remarkable season.
What I would say, just from the benefit of having seen Blackpool with my eyes last midweek, I feel like there might be some similarities here where they started the game not looking great, but not looking like, oh my God, we're horrendous, and then conceded the softest goal, set piece, back post header from the Rhino Johnson. And it was just what are you going to do? You sort of keep it going for 20 minutes and then just a bit of softness does you. And the exact same thing happened here, albeit it was a more egregious error from Peacock Farrell, who came out and basically missed it.
Yes, Peacock Farrell did make a couple of decent saves, I should say, in the first half. It was just bad defending all round. Adelican kind of swanning in off that left-hand side. Peacock Farrell goes for a walk and gets nowhere near it, and Adelican's able to finish it pretty easily. Ashley Fletcher, another player who's having an incredible season despite playing for a poor team. He scored his 14th league goal of the season with a close-range finish, a kind of bouncing ball that somehow made its way all the way through to him, and he could divert it home. But when you're a bit of a catastrophe, you get yourself back in the game. Couple of minutes left plus injury time. Fraser Horsfall, you're going to get yourself sent off, are you? Not ideal. Ian Abbott did not look happy on the side of the pitch. Blackpool fans, understandably, now looking at Everett and saying, well, he's not really doing what we hoped he'd do. It still remains, in my mind, pretty obvious that this is a squad who shouldn't be in the bottom 4 in terms of quality, but it hasn't meshed all season. Good performances have been very rare, and they find themselves now 3 points adrift of Wigan in 20th. It is
odds on for relegation now for the first time.
Fair enough, yeah. I can't. It feels like they're a team whose relegation could be confirmed relatively soon if they don't improve, even though they're currently in that 4th spot. Big concerns for them. Donny, it's a massive win. It puts them 5 points clear now of the bottom 4. They've gone on a decent run recently, but they came into this one winless in 3. So to get that in what was a high pressure game, definitely a 6-pointer in front of their own fans. A big performance by them and a big result.
It's almost impossible to get your head around Blackpool getting relegated from League One this season. And not because of any perceived idea of club size, really, and not because they were in the Premier League and they were in the Championship only a couple of seasons ago, but because the signings they made this summer and their spend on their squad should have them easily challenging for the top 6. The transfers that they made over the summer, and transfers are always eye-catching for people, and are probably not as important as a lot of people think. Transfers had people like us predicting them to finish 4th, many people higher than that, a couple of people slightly lower than that, but generally the consensus was Blackpool have finished strong under Steve Bruce, and they've added Fraser Horsfall and Michael Ahikwe, who are really strong defenders for the level, and that's what they needed to sort out. And they've added George Honeyman for a bit of versatility, leadership, nous, and that'll see them move up the table. The fact that they genuinely might get relegated is absolutely astounding. Make no bones about it. Now, trying to work out and try and track what's gone wrong for Blackpool, I think this is a good time to get that away quickly. So Neil Critchley took them through the 23-24 season after they got relegated from the Championship. They finished 8th in that season. They were really good at home and really bad away from home. He got sacked after 2 games of the next season. Now,
what happened in those 2 games?
They lost both of them. I can't remember exactly what we'd have said at the time, and I'm sure the mood music, if you like, was really bad. But if you're looking, particularly if you zoom out and you're looking for red flags, sacking your manager after 2 games of a season, something has gone very wrong there, I would suggest. And that's when you start looking at the decision makers. Why are you giving a guy a pre-season and a start to the season if you're willing to decide that everything is so bad after 2 games? That's a concern. They appointed Steve Bruce. To me, that was a concern. To others, that was a masterstroke. They won their first 4 games under Bruce. Then they were winless in 8. Then they won 3 in a row. Then they were winless in 6. They finished last season. They had a sort of weird 11-game unbeaten run under Bruce where they only won 3 and drew 8. They finished with 7 wins in their last 12 to go from 13th to finish 9th. They sold Rob Apter, and Bruce managed to get some serious funds released for wages for Peacock Farrell, Ahikwe, Horsfall, Jordan Brown, George Honeyman, Josh Bowler. They added Niall Ennis and Dale Taylor at the top of the pitch. The recruitment was unbelievably punchy. And instead, they just looked woefully coached. The confidence within the squad was never there, but has as good as evaporated. They've had absurd injury issues all season, and that is worth pointing out. Whether that's bad luck, bad practice on the training pitch, bad rotation, bad sports science, or some sort of mixture of all of that, there's no way of knowing from the outside, but it's massively impacted them and what they've been able to do, both under Bruce and Everett. Bruce was sacked when they had 8 points from 11 games. Everett got 20 points from his first 10 games.
Wow.
How many points are they on now? They're only on about 29. So they got almost all of their points this season.
38.
In a 10-game period. Okay, 38. So more than half of their points this season in a 10-game period when Everett took charge. And on New Year's Day, they were 1-0 up at Port Vale. A win there would have carried on their really good form. James Husband, a leader in the team, got sent off. They lost 5-1 after he got sent off. And since then, 9 points from 14 games, conceding more than twice a game. So the leaders on the pitch have definitely been letting them down. No one else has been stepping up, to be clear. Half the squad's barely been available all season, and those that are there currently are playing like they are completely shell-shocked. And Everett hasn't been able to kind of work out how to get something out of them. But the one shining light is they've had one run under Everett, 2 points per game over a 10-game period. Can they get something close to that? Otherwise, it's all over. They've got 4 of the next 6 at home. Vale, Burton, Exeter and Peterborough. All of them are poor away teams and they all come to Blackpool. They have to try and make Bloomfield Road a fortress of sorts. The fans are so angry that feels maybe unlikely to actually happen. But yeah, big story in League One at the moment. Blackpool in the bottom 4, 3 points adrift. Leyton Orient were in the bottom 4 this time last week. But big win at Stevenage in midweek, backed it up by beating Posh 2-1 at home. The first time Orient have won back-to-back all season. Last year's playoff final losers. Jack Simpson scored from a Wellens assist. Charlie Wellens, that is, not Richie. Theo Archibald with a hell of an assist. Got the ball in his defensive third, carried it about 80 yards and cut it back to Backinson for the second goal. Jimmy J. Morgan pulled one back pretty much immediately for Posh, but Orient saw it out. So it's the first time they've won back-to-back this season. It's the first time they've won without Dom Ballard scoring since November.
Wow.
It's kind of amazing to me how different the Orient team looks every time I look at the Orient team. So even here, I was like, oh, are they still playing 3 at the back like they were a couple of weeks ago? No, 4 at the back now. Morris and James as fullbacks. Simpson as Casey centre-backs. Dylan Levitt and Abdoulaye as the double pivot is fairly wild to me. O'Neill and Mitchell off the wings with Wellens behind Ballard. They've got a 4-point gap now. Huge week for Leyton Orient. And it's a 3-point gap for Wigan, who beat Bradford 2-0.
Big old win this for Wigan and 2 quality goals. Caelan Vickers scoring the first. Lovely touch that took it onto his left foot and then fired an amazing shot into the top right-hand corner. A really kind of big moment of quality when needed for Wigan in a game of kind of little quality. Throughout only 12 shots in the game, 5 to Wigan, 7 for Bradford. Bradford's toiled as they often do on the road and weren't able to create much of note. And when Joe Taylor, as he does, scampered in behind, another brilliant touch out into the left-hand channel and then fired it across the keeper to make it 2-0. It was a nice kind of counter-attacking sucker punch for a team who are 1-0 up and sitting on their lead and doing it without coming under too much pressure. Bradford's away form is like so bad. They started off, they were unbeaten in their first 5 away games in all comps, including a 3-0 win away at Stoke in the Carabao Cup. Since then, they've only won 4 away games, one of which was against Cardiff, extraordinarily, a 3-1 win back in September.
And it was my nap on the betting show.
Wow.
A different time.
So since then,
so many ways.
Since then, right, that was on the 20th of September. Since then, they've beaten Plymouth 1-0 away from home in December when Plymouth were really struggling. Blackpool 2-1 in January, Blackpool 4th bottom. And Port Vale 2-0 the game before this one away from home. They have lost 6 of their last 7 away games.
Yeah.
They've lost 8 of their last 10 away games. Like, this is really impacting the chances of them doing anything this season. It feels like they are, every season there are 1 or 2 teams who are just completely different football teams away from home compared to at home. And when you consider that Bradford are currently 4th, when you consider that they are, 12 points off Cardiff in second, yeah, that's a lot. But if you were to reflect their home form, in even half their home form to their away form, they'd be a lot closer. So,
Still an 8-point gap to 7th. So, certainly no room for complacency when it comes to Bradford, but astonishingly likely that they'll be in the playoffs. And I always think
have to play one of their games away from home.
They will certainly have to play one of their games away from home. But I'm interested to see. You often get this conversation about how you're meant to act in the last 4 or 5 games of the season if you basically know that you're going to come 3rd or 4th. In terms of how much you rotate, how much you rest, how hard you try, how little you try. I don't know what the answer is, but and normally it gets discussed with the benefit of hindsight, and whatever you do gets criticised depending on whether you've or praised depending on whether you've won the playoffs or lost the playoffs. But certainly something for them to think about. For Wigan, they've beaten 3 top half teams already under Gary Caldwell in his 6 games so far. Obviously, have moved away from the relegation zone. So that appointment, just based on 6 games, is looking good. And could Joe Taylor be the most valuable January signing? Certainly in the relegation battle. 7 goals already for Wigan in 800 minutes. He scored 3 more league goals than any of their other players. He only joined in mid-Jan. He's only been there for 2 months. He's only taken 22 shots and 7 of them have gone in. That is so opposite to what Wigan were getting beforehand from their strikers. Taking them a long way. Northampton 0, Burton Albion 2. More doom and gloom for Cobblers. They had a few chances at 0-0, but they were giving up plenty at the other end as well. And they were behind when Jake Beasley stabbed home at the second time of asking after Tyrese Shade had broken the offside trap. Cobblers had a couple of chances at 1-0, including one big one where McGeehan had a shot which was saved back out to him. Second shot hit the post and hit the inside of the post and rolled along the goal line straight into the goalkeeper's hands. And I think that kind of sums it all up for Cobblers at the moment. Even when they do stuff that's good, they don't get rewarded, and there's a lot of bad in there as well. Van Kooten scoring to make it 2-0. So Northampton, it seems pretty clear watching Burton and watching a team that are a bit better than Northampton and where Northampton would like to be. But Northampton don't have Tyree Shade and they don't have ex-Jeasley Beasley. They had Ethan Wheatley, and I would suggest in the first half of the season he was doing some Tyree Shade-esque stuff and giving them a bit more of a threat at the top of the pitch, particularly on the break. And now they've got so little transition threat. They've got basically Big Evesy, who does some good headers, but you have to actually get the ball wide and then get good delivery into him, and that's easier said than done. So they've taken the fewest shots on target, second lowest XG per shot in League One this season. Just a really poor attacking team. Defensively, face the second most shots, second highest non-penalty XG against. That's just a bad team, I'm afraid, and they have by far the hardest run in amongst relegation battlers, still have loads of top half teams to play away from home. This, therefore, was a big chance for them to take points off a side above them, and they didn't do it. So Burton march on, look like they'll be safe, look like they'll be in League One again next season. Gary Bowyer's sort of calm leadership, it just continues to really impress. And if you look at their results, it's the fact that against the current bottom four, who they're 5 points above, beat Blackpool, beat Rotherham, beat Northampton twice, drew twice with Vale, drew at Rotherham, unbeaten against the bottom four. That's possibly all they'll ever need to stay up this season. And Rotherham themselves, they drew 2-2 with Bolton. Crazy game, really. Nombe scored twice to put them 2-0 up. The second, a really nice assist from Martha. But almost as soon as they went 2-0 up, you just got the sense that the game was going to change completely and that it was going to be attack v defence. And could their defence handle it? Not really. Farino scored from a set piece. Then John Joe Kenny set up Dolby for an equaliser. And I watched the last 5 or 10 minutes of this game. Rotherham more or less gave up defending. They were like, this is too hard. We don't like it. You've got too many attackers. You just do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And it looked like for the second weekend in a row, Bolton were going to win 3-2 from 2-0 down with an injury time winner. But Dempsey in particular missed 2 massive chances. There was a lot of other poor decision making. And I think in the end, a 2-2 draw that's kind of frustrating for both, because Bolton are now, well, they can pretty much wave goodbye to the top 2, I think. Also at the bottom, Vale drew 0 with Huddersfield. That was a match that happened. So just the picture at the bottom, you've got Vale on 28. They've got loads of games in hand, but they are 13 points from safety. A 7-point gap to Northampton on 35, then Rotherham on 36 and Blackpool on 38. Then a 3-point gap now to Wigan on 41, Orient and Exeter on 42, Donny and Burton on 43. Our top 2, both won, both extended the cushion to 3rd place. Both will be playing in the Championship next season. And Lincoln winning 6 in a row now, George, the first team to do that in League One this season.
Just doing what they do, really. Not needing much of the ball, getting it forward when they get it, making it difficult for the opposition, and being clinical when the opportunities present themselves. There was some fortune in a couple of the goals, but still the 3-1 scoreline to Lincoln definitely reflected the balance of play. Moylan scoring from a corner, which Stockport failed to clear, and it kind of bounced over Brad Hills's head and fell into Moylan's path, which he prodded home. Stockport scored through Jack Diamond with a header after they had very, very little opportunity in the first half, but a brilliant ball that Diamond headed in well. And it looked like Lincoln were going to let Cardiff back in, because with 5 or so minutes to go, the score remains 1-1, despite Lincoln being by far the better team, with Corey Adai making a couple of decent saves in the second half. But Derrickwa got on the ball from just outside the area, let fly, and Ethan Pye slid in and diverted the ball past Adai to make it 2-1. And then Alfie Lloyd with a really nice goal off the bench, the player on loan from QPR, kind of scampering in behind, as we've seen kind of a few Lincoln players do. I feel like I've seen certainly Rico Hackett score this kind of goal late in games, having come off the bench, getting the first contact, getting in behind and finishing really well to make it 3-1. They're just so good, Lincoln. They're just so effective. They have a game model that seems to always mean that they are the team that create the better chances. So comfortable out of possession, like Stockport with 71% possession, 537 attempted passes, and just not really getting very close to them really at all.
I was flicking between the 12:30 games, as I often do on a Saturday, and I was on this game when Stockport equalised, and it was the first goal Lincoln had conceded in 6 games. And it was just such a shock that a team had scored against Lincoln because, as you say, they look so comfortable without the ball at all times. And it was a fairly simple goal in the end. It was a deep cross from Osborne on the left, and Sidibe and Wootton, they're obviously both a real handful in the air, and they were occupying all of the Lincoln centre-backs and full-backs. And Jack Diamond sort of just drifted in from the right wing. He'd come on for Olowu, and I think given Stockport a bit more in the final third, just drifted in, and the left-sided midfielder, was it House maybe, just didn't track him at all, and they made him pay. It was like, and although at the from a Lincoln point of view, that goal was a really poor goal to concede, in a weird way, it was a reminder of how good they are defensively, that happens so rarely, because other teams, obviously, they don't have that level of concentration and structure normally. So for it to happen against them was just like a shocking moment.
Yeah, agrees. But as they do, they found, they carried on going. It just feels like they're basically very, very good at fending off chaos in their own defensive areas, and incredibly effective at creating it in the oppositions, and that is normally quite a good way to win games.
Moylan nicking that first goal, what an incredible couple of months he's had as well. And Cardiff matched them, bettered them. Actually, 4-0 winners at Exeter. Just a lovely, lovely, lovely display for Cardiff, who obviously lost to Lincoln in the previous weekend, then only drew at Barnsley in midweek. So a little bit of a hangover last week, but absolutely battered Exeter here. As we've said so often, and it's the thing with teams like these two, you struggle to find new ways to describe what they're doing, but that is our job. What I come back to with Cardiff so often is their wide attacking play. We know that they're really, really good and that they have loads of the ball, really high possession team. What does that actually mean when they get to the final third? Because that's when a lot of high possession teams kind of die. It doesn't really matter how much possession you have. What matters is how effective you are at creating chances in the sharp end of the pitch. And Cardiff is so good at that because they do play forward quickly when they need to, and they are very good at making the most of any spaces that the opposition give them in transition. When they aren't given space in transition, they're more than happy to work the ball slowly, methodically into the final third, and then they've got these incredible patterns of play where they shift the ball out wide. And I always think defending width is like, on the one hand, there was that classic Atletico Madrid team under Simeone who loved a 4-4-2 narrow block and basically said, we want you to cross the ball because we'll be confident that we can head it away, essentially. We think that's like the lowest probability chance that we can give up. And it's really hard to defend width if you want to defend width, because you have to spread the pitch so much to actually stop easy balls out wide, and that creates gaps in the middle of the park, which no one wants. So teams are generally happy for teams to funnel the ball out wide. But against Cardiff, that's like an absolute nightmare, because what they do with their wingers and their fullbacks, and Kellyman and Colwill basically both playing nominally sort of centrally, but drifting all over. Triangles, one-touch passing a movement with really skillful players. It's just unbelievably difficult to defend, and it means that they get loads of balls across. Eventually, they get balls across into whoever's in the middle for chances that they tend to finish. So Colwill was the beneficiary here, scored 2 in the first half. First goal, set up from the right, beautiful finish into the top corner. Second one, down the left, Ashford with the assist, Colwill heading in. It was a fantastic performance, and their third goal was the best of the lot. A back heel from Wintle into Robertson, who curled it in from 20-25 yards. They played really, really good stuff here. So Exeter are worth a quick chat because they're only 4 points above the relegation zone now. They're obviously in really poor form.
Saturday's game is they go to Wigan.
Yeah, they've got Luton away on Tuesday night.
Caldwell's Wigan.
So Luton away, then Wigan away, and then it's Leyton Orient and Blackpool in their next 2 games. And then it's Doncaster. And then it's the Devon Derby. I mean, the next 6 games are gargantuan.
Yes.
And the old Caldwell to Dan Green handover was meant to be smooth. It wasn't that at all. So they've called Matt Taylor. They've said, Matt, remember 4 years ago when we had a wonderful marriage? You took us up from League Two and then you left us for Rotherham, and we didn't mind because, you'd done what we needed you to do.
Things.
Could you...
And since then, you had a torrid time at Bristol Rovers, and now coming back and hasn't really started too well.
Let's just get back
Where's
together.
Our bounce, Matt?
And everything will be fine. But it hasn't been yet. Now, only 2 other teams in the top half won outside of the top 2. They are by so far the best teams in the league. That was underlined again over the weekend. Obviously, Huddersfield drew, as discussed. Bolton drew to Rotherham. Bradford lost to Wigan. That's 3rd, 4th and 6th, failing to beat teams in the bottom 6. Stevenage were the big winners, therefore. They beat Wimbledon by 1-0. It was Jamie Reid from the penalty spot. Clumsy foul from Joe Lewis on Pidge. It's the second penalty he's won in back-to-back games. Stevenage Didn't need to do a huge amount to win 1-0. It wasn't a game with a lot of incident, but it's a week in which they actually lost at home to Orient last midweek, which is a really poor result for a playoff chaser. But with this win, they moved from 8th to 5th. And you just have to say, what a league.
Yes.
Is anyone actually good enough to win the League One playoffs, or should we just send 2 teams up? Because I'm not that impressed with most of this lot. Wycombe, they could be in the playoff places if they'd beaten Luton at home. They'd won 4 straight at home, and Luton hadn't won away in 10. So obviously the final score was...
Wycombe 1, Luton 2.
Football.
Yes. If you're a Wycombe fan and you go into this game knowing it is a huge opportunity to capitalise on what has been a pretty good run, to really force your way into the driving seat of finishing the top 6 up against a Luton side that just can't win games of football away from home. And you start the better team, you create the better chances, Luton looking pretty devoid of confidence. And then they just score 2 goals that are exactly the same. Both of them corners that are swung in quite close to the keeper. I think Norris will say that he feels he was impeded, certainly for the first,
right?
But he just doesn't move off his line. Yeah, maybe there is a bit of that, but I think you've got to be a bit stronger.
Yeah.
And both are first contact headers on the goal line, basically. The first from Naismith, the second from Palmer.
If you concede a Casey Palmer header from a corner, you don't deserve to go up. There, I'm saying it. I'm saying it.
A really good header.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of behind him and he managed to crane his neck in a way to divert it in. Like Wycombe weren't bad here. Like that's the silly thing about this. You basically strip out those 2 corners and Wycombe are the better team. Like obviously game state plays a part in that as well. Of course it does. When Katerna eventually scored a consolation goal in the 7th minute of injury time.
Never quits, does he? He never quits.
It was, it had been coming to an extent. But this is just, for Luton, it's really important. It ends that terrible away record run, but I'm not seeing this as evidence that we are about to see Luton go on a run. I still am waiting to see a clear playing identity under Jack Wilshere. It's just a real nothing season as it stands at the moment. 5 points off the playoffs, of course, if they do go on a run, they can get there. But for Wycombe, I would say they did little wrong here, apart from just failing to defend 2 very standard corners and pay the price.
I want to apologise. Actually, I'm just going to apologise straight off the bat. I got overly emotional, and I shouldn't have done. Wycombe fans, I take it back. Turns out Casey Palmer's actually scored 9 headers in his career.
Wow.
So a sneaky headerman.
Yeah,
and
he's quite tall.
For that reason,
he's tall and brave.
I will open up another promotion spot, and you could get it, but you have to play better than that.
No, the whole thing was they played okay.
You'll have to score the goals and win the matches.
You have to stop letting teams score
XG
corners
doesn't
easily.
win you. Yeah. Hakeem Adoffin getting a lot of love for his performance at the heart of that Luton back 3, and a lot of love for the return from injury of Elijah Adebayo, who had a significant injury just under 12 months ago and is now back and playing for Luton. And it would be great to see him start a couple of games between now and the end of the season, see how sharp he looks. Player that we like very, very much. Reading 2, Argyle 2, both kind of playoff chasers as well. Reading led twice through Randall Williams, who scored a cross, and Paulie O'Connor, who scored from a set piece. Each time Argyle responded. Alex Mitchell from a set piece, and then Caleb Watts equalising as well. Both teams had like really fun counter-attacking opportunities at 2-2 as well that they kind of slightly bungled. And so I think an entertaining 2-2 draw, probably the fair result, and a good result, you have to say, for Argyle as well. Mansfield and Barnsley, same scoreline, 2-2, but Barnsley chucking away a 2-goal lead. David McGoldrick scored, obviously, an absolutely delectable strike, half volley, 20 yards out, absolute laser into the bottom corner. Good stat from NTT20.com's weekend notes piece this morning. McGoldrick's 14 League One goals this season. Only Dean Windass, 16, and Bayo Akinfenwa, 15, have scored more, aged 37 or more.
Wow.
Since 04-05.
That's great.
A convoluted stat, but a good one. Banks made it 2-0 for Barnsley. Would they see it out? No, because they haven't kept a clean sheet for 21 games, and they are not very good at defending. An Akins penalty, a McLaughlin injury time goal from a set piece, 2-2, and I think both of these teams in quite a similar spot, where they've both got loads of games in hand. Barnsley and Mansfield have only played 35 games. They've both got 11 games left. They're 12th and 15th. Like Barnsley could get to at least
been saying it every week
playoff push. But they have to improve their defence. They're not actually.
But what's weird is
they're not doing very well.
They seem to not win that many games. Every time I look at it, I'm like, they're still there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. And then Mansfield, quite beachy, I think, if we're honest. Post cup run, 7 points above the drop zone with 5 teams between them and it, and all the games in hand as well. Probably be fine. Just quickly, what is the playoff picture looking like? Glad you asked. Bolton 65, Bradford 64. 7-point gap to Stevenage 57, Huddersfield 56, dotted line. Stockport 56, out of the top 6 for the first time in months, but they've got 2 games in hand over most. Then Reading 55, Wycombe 53, Argyle 53, Luton 51, Barnsley, Wimbledon 49. It's a good playoff picture.
It's so different to what I always think of League One generally being a league where the giants rise to the top, and I guess with Cardiff and with Bolton, you could say there's an element of that, with Lincoln being just a standout, incredible season for one team. But normally it's ultra competitive in terms of the best of the rest to get in the playoffs. And this year it feels like beyond Bolton, who it still feels like should have more points than they've got if they played up to their actual capacity. Bradford, who, as we discussed, basically lose every game away from home. Stevenage, who we were talking about possibly getting relegated a couple of months ago, are now in 5th, having scored only 40 goals this season in 36 games. Huddersfield, who are on their second manager of the season, who their fans are already singing, "You're not fit to wear the shirt" at them. Stockport, who are going through a horrendous run, having lost 3 games in a row. Reading, who, again, fans not particularly happy with the performances, and looking at Liam Richardson and saying they don't agree with his perception of their current strength. Wycombe onto their second manager, who are doing okay. Argyle, who are nearly getting relegated earlier. Luton, is a cluster F of teams. It's not what we're used to seeing here, and it makes it a very weird promotion race where, looking at the Championship next season, knowing how big that step up is from the League One to the Championship. You really fear for a few of these teams as to whether or not they're ready to make that step up next season. But as to who's going to get in, I have no idea. It feels like Wycombe are maybe the team at the moment who are playing most consistently the best. Argyle to an extent too. But
I thought Argyle were the current best of this group. But over the last 10, 17 points is the same as Wycombe. It's actually the same as Huddersfield, which is not the narrative being peddled at all. It's less points than Stevenage and Reading have got in that time. Last 8, Argyle have won 5 of their last 8 and 2 PPG in that time.
Who are your 4 playoff teams?
I'm not paying enough to make these sorts of predictions.
I think Bolton, Bradford, Stevenage and Wycombe would be my 4.
I think Bolton, Bradford, Stockport, and Plymouth Argyle.
Wow, okay.
For the narrative. Well, we'll be here to cover it all. Thanks for listening. Same stuff for League 2 and the Championship, wherever you found this one. Cheers, go well.